Good morning.
Well, technically it's not morning. Good afternoon. I'm just so used to pressing a button. I am actually back at home, so kind of comfortable being in the home studio today. Listen, I do not want to waste this young woman, this queen's time. It is the last couple of days before the election. And so, as I mentioned last week, and we talked with Stacey Borden on Friday, we have a young woman, a Black woman, who is running for court clerk. And she has over 30 years of advocacy and experience that, to me, just makes her very qualified for the position. And so I'm going to ask you to do me a favor so we can get as many people in the room. I know it is Labor Day weekend and it's a little rainy outside, so probably folks aren't out yet. Invite them into the Java Cafe so they can learn more about Attorney Cartwright, her journey, why she's running for the office, what the position entails, and also the opportunity for her to ask for your vote on Tuesday. And so without further ado, so we can bring her in and get her back out on the campaign trail, I would like to introduce to some and present to others Attorney Allison Cartwright, who I tell you early on, a whole bunch of folks were like, Jimmy, did you know? Are you aware? And, I've been tweeting some things and just keeping up with what's going on with you on the campaign trail. And so please say good afternoon, not good morning. I got to remember it's afternoon. Please say good morning to the Java family and those that will watch after. Describe how you're feeling today in one word.
Okay, well, good afternoon, Java family. So very happy to be here. If I could explain how I feel in one word, I feel confident. That's my word. I feel confident.
Confident. Okay. And so again, I'm not going to belabor. I'm going to just sort of jump right in so we can learn as much as we can, sort of a popcorn question period, so you can get back out and door knock and do what you're doing today. And so tell us a little bit about who you are. You have 30 years of advocacy experience. You are an attorney. Tell us a little bit about who you are, and then maybe toward the end, tell us why you're transitioning from being this servant to looking now to being a public servant. Being an attorney is an aspect of a public servant, but a different type of civil servant and public servant.
Okay, a little bit about me for those who don't really or haven't met me yet. I'm a public defender, so I have built my career on representing poor people who cannot afford to hire an attorney. And that is quite an expensive endeavor. So I have been doing that work. And in December, it'll be 32 years. I have represented clients in district court, in superior court, in probate and family court, juvenile court, and all over the Commonwealth. I'm a trial attorney. And as a public defender, I am a public servant. I work for you, the people, protecting your constitutional rights, holding the Commonwealth to its burden of proof when we go to trial. And I've been very successful at that. I'm happy, but that's because I put in the work. So if you want to know something about me, I am the epitome of someone who works hard, believes in always advancing what I know and sharing that with others. As an illustration of this, I speak to kindergarten students, and that's because I believe we cannot plant our seeds too early or too deep. I also work with middle school students in a program called Discovering Justice, Inc. That helps them where attorneys volunteer and teach students, middle school students, how to put together legal arguments. And then the students get to come into the federal district court and make their arguments in front of real judges. I also work with high school students, undergraduate students. I'm on the faculty of the trial advocacy workshop at Harvard Law School, where I help to train law students on becoming good trial attorneys. So I have always believed in community. I sit on the advisory board of the Boys and Girls Club of Roxbury. I've done that for a very long time. I'm also on the board of trustees at Regis College. So giving back to the community it's a part of my fabric of what I do. And I
I
would
go ahead. I'm sorry. Please go
oh
ahead.
no, I would bring all of those experiences with me to this position, which is clerk for the Supreme Judicial Court of Massachusetts for Suffolk County.
Let me ask you right there. There's some other questions, and it's just so amazing to hear about your journey. And I love when people who have been on the ground and in systems take that step to move into an elected position. We're going to talk about that in a second. And so, if you don't mind, for those that aren't familiar with that position, and I'm just going to give some commentary and say, based on the purview and the lens in which you've served for come December 32 years, you have a very interesting lens in which you can talk about what that position does. And then right now, explain what that position does and what the opportunity is there around equity. We know the disproportionate impact of folks sometimes in the system look a lot like you and I. And so if you could share with us what that position does, and then we'll talk about why you're going for it, what you want to do when you get in it. And then you can seal it up and formally ask the folks for your vote.
Sure. Okay. So this clerk, it serves our state's highest court and the people who rely on that court, like you and me, right? So being that bridge between the court and the public is a key role. And this is the clerk who is responsible for assisting the court with a lot of things having to do with the legal profession itself. This clerk swears in new attorneys. That is welcoming them into the practice of law. I can welcome them into this practice because I have been a member of it for almost 32 years. This clerk also has to help the court conduct attorney disciplinary hearings. So when attorneys mess up and they have to face discipline and the consequences of whatever wrongful violation that they have committed, this clerk is the one who has to announce that decision and notify the parties. And most important, well, also dealing with the legal profession, this clerk has to certify student attorneys, and that's SJC Rule 303. I was an SJC 303 student when I was in law school. I went to Boston College Law School, and I was a part of the BC Defenders. So I was in at that time it was in Dorchester Court. I believe it still is in Dorchester, and I represented clients even when I was a third year law student. This clerk also has to certify attorneys, well, folks who are coming in. They've been admitted to practice in another state, but now they want to come and practice in Massachusetts. And until they are fully licensed, there's a provision under which they can practice, and that's Rule 304. So this clerk is responsible for doing a lot of gatekeeping for the legal community and the practice of law in Massachusetts. That's important. That's why it is important to be an attorney. But more significantly, this clerk handles the single justice session. I can't underscore enough how important that is when you are in the middle of a trial or a hearing and you believe that that trial judge has made an error on a ruling that affects your constitutional rights or could have the potential of totally affecting the outcome of your case. You can file a petition under Rule 211C. I'm sorry, Chapter 211C. And once that petition is filed with this clerk, those proceedings have to come to a halt. The case that's in that court, this clerk has to assemble the record. That's the petition. That's the petitioner's pleadings. That's the respondent's pleadings. Anyone else who may have standing, that clerk has to make sure that everything is there because it will go in front of one justice and they rotate taking them, these cases. It goes in front of that one justice, and that justice has to have the confidence that they have everything they need in order to make their ruling.
And that means which the clerk is responsible for gathering all the information, quote unquote, good, bad, and ugly, unbiased, and no leaning, and it should be without influence from any external sources, correct? No implication on those currently in or whatever, but just a little observation there.
Right. In order for you to truly trust your court system and believe in it, you have to believe that it is fair, that the whole process is fair. So as clerk, I would have to be neutral. I can't show favoritism to one side or another. And it's interesting because it's a political process to get this job. And look, I'm no politician, people. I'm a trial attorney. And now I'm in upper management at the State Public Defender Agency. I'm not a politician. I know how to craft, put cases together, gather evidence, and look, I've been out in the streets doing investigations on my cases and things like that. So again, I'm no politician, but you have to run to be elected to this position. So that's why I'm here. I'm doing this, and it's quite the experience. But this clerk has to get all of that together, and that the justices, all of them have to believe in the integrity and the professionalism of this office and know that they have everything they need in order to make their decision. And once they make their decision, this clerk has to then notify the parties, announce the decision, and notify the clerk's office in the underlying court. There's a whole lot of things that have to be done. And as of a few weeks ago, those decisions are now available online. So that's one of the important functions. And being an attorney is almost, it should be a requirement, because this being an elected office, all you have to be is 18 years old and a citizen, right? Yeah, you're surprised. Yeah.
Yes, Attorney Cartwright. Okay. You touched on this a little bit, but I want to ask specifically, and I don't know if you know this good brother from community, Stephen Godfrey, and he's asking, and I hear it from you, but in case others don't, can you go a little bit deeper into, why it's important to have confidence, why it's important to have someone that is neutral in his position, and just to be very blunt, why an attorney? So all in all, why are you making the transition from being this public defender and in leadership and administration with that into this position? You touched on it a little bit, but because someone asked, I'm going to ask, and if you could just give us 30 seconds, because you did kind of already touch on it.
Well, I have been basically I built my career on working for the people, being a servant to the people. And I would bring that to this position, but this allows me an opportunity to do this on a different level. I'm not going to say it's a higher level, because I would never sort of belittle the work of public defenders, because that's what I am, and I love it. I believe in it. But this is something different. As a public defender, I'm affecting lives one at a time, and perhaps whoever is associated with my clients, their family, their loved ones. This allows me to take all of those experiences, bring them to a different forum, the state's highest court. And that's what I want to bring to this. And if elected, I would be the first Black person, the first person of color to ever hold this position.
And would you be the first woman as well?
No, the current clerk is a woman. She's been in office for almost 30 years. She's an attorney.
That's good.
And if I could also mention, there is another clerk that serves the SJC. That clerk's title is Supreme Clerk of the Supreme Judicial Court for the Commonwealth. That clerk handles the court's typical, the regular docket that it has. The position was just filled, and it became vacant a couple months ago. And what the minimum qualifications were, you had to have a Juris Doctorate, that's a law degree. You had to be in practice for at least 10 years. You had to have at least, I believe it was 6 years of progressive managerial experience. Those were some of the basic minimum qualifications.
Of attorneys.
Of attorney.
Okay.
Well,
Yes, ma'am.
yes. And that position is appointed to 5 years by the SJC itself. So this is the SJC telling us what it wants when it is seeking a clerk. It wants experience. And they just filled the position. I wish I had the copy of it in front of me. Uh, uh, her first name is Maura. They just filled it with a woman who is an attorney and has been attorney for, again, well over a decade. That was minimum qualifications. And they just announced that just this past week. So when the SJC tells you this is what we want in a clerk, they do want someone with legal experience. One of the other things that they were asking for, the reason they want someone with legal experience is because they would like at times to ask the clerk, what is your recommendation
And
on how to handle certain things? Yes.
and if
And
you
if
have
you,
not practiced law, you can't go and granted, smart leaders have people around them that know things that they don't. That's fine. You can pull in your advisory and whatnot. But there's nothing like you who have went through a case similar, who have spent weeks up 3 o'clock in the morning looking at dockets and reviews and research. You have it that there's a certain rigor. I don't know if you know Sharice Perry.
yes,
We talked
yes.
about rigor. There's a certain rigor that attorneys have, and you want to be able as soon as possible to give a recommendation, because you don't know at what level a judge may ask for your opinion. Minimally, when I was in youth court around substance use, when the judge would call and ask my opinion, when I would tell you I would want to ask for a recess every time, because the power of you don't know what type of case you would have in front of you to be able to influence a judge's decision, which could impact somebody's life forever. And so, not to get too far off into that, but it does show the necessity and the need. And then you said the SJC has laid out criteria for which they want a professional in this position. So
Yes.
I mean, yes, ma'am. Go, please proceed. Oh, she's on the phone, y'all. She got listen. Somebody may have called her. She's on the trail. We'll hold on and bring her back. But if you're just joining, we're hearing from attorney Allison Cartwright, who is making the case for you to vote for her. And so I'm just going to stick around in the background. Somebody probably called her and said, hey, we see you on Twitter real quick. But if you have any comments or questions, let me also ask you this. Have you made your plan to vote on Tuesday? Tomorrow's a holiday. I get it. Have you made a plan to vote on Tuesday? If so, put that in the comments. How do you all feel about Attorney Cartwright so far? Please let me know. Milagro, good to see you in. Vaughn, good to see you in as well. Those that are listening on Twitter and also on Instagram, thank you. We're going to try to get Attorney Cartwright back. But as you know, she is on the campaign trail. Please re-click and come back. See if we can get her back, because I was just getting excited. Because what she's talking about is institutional. I think she's coming back. I see something moving in the background. I see attorney Stephanie Everett, who is also an elected official in this system. It's wonderful to see Black women who are leading in this space of the court system. Attorney Everett, it's good to see you in the office. It's good to see you in the Java Cafe as well. We're going to try to get Attorney Cartwright. Attorney Cartwright, if you can hear me, log off and just click that link and come back in, because it was just getting to the good part. The way the criteria is laid out for this position, why would you not want to have somebody in that position who has, come December, 32 years of experience, has worked with those that typically public defenders, usually those that are assigned public defenders are those that don't meet the budget requirement in order to pay for their own attorney. A lot of those folks in the legal justice system look like us. She just got through talking about the fact that a judge may ask her. Oh, there she is. We got her back. And I was trying to hold on, G. Okay, we got you back, because I was trying to make the case here, and can't nobody make it like you. So I want to make the best use of your time before we have another technical glitch. And so if you could just
Yes.
close out, what I interpreted from you was the reason that you're going on to do this is, as a public defender, you influence lives and cases, one case at a time. What you're looking to do is expand your experience and impact on a systemic level. If I'm hearing you
Yes.
correctly, why is it important, man,
Absolutely.
that we need this change in a systemic level like this? Ooh, you doing me good this morning, this
It,
afternoon, Attorney Cartwright.
well, I think it's important to have people with, when we talk about diversity, it's not a nasty word. It's not an ugly thing. It's about bringing in people with different experiences, different backgrounds. And that's what I bring to this position. I bring all of that experience of knowing communities, knowing what's happening in communities. And this is especially true of this elected position. I would have the luxury, the power to be able to go out, speak with community, and take that information back and give it directly to the SJC. And you don't always get to do that in some of these positions, particularly in court positions. But as an elected official, I answer to you, the people. I'm accountable to you who have elected me. And what's interesting here is I'm elected by the people of Suffolk County, but as clerk, I represent the entire Commonwealth. Anyone who brings a matter in front of this clerk that would need to be seen or taken to the SJC itself would have to come through this clerk's office. And I know the problems the courts are having. The language accessibility problem it's huge. I recently had one attorney on my staff had a trial in Suffolk Superior Court that had to be continued 2 or 3 times because there was no language interpreter, and you must be a certified language interpreter in order to come into court and help. And when it's Spanish, okay, that's not a problem. But when it's some of these other languages, that can become a problem. And when a case has to get continued because we don't have a certified interpreter, it's not continued, for a couple of days or next week. Cases get continued for months. And that's, as Thurgood Marshall said, justice denied is justice delayed is
It's
justice
justice.
denied. And we can't allow that to happen here in Massachusetts. So I would work with the SJC, the Chief Justice, Kimberly Budd. She is responsible for all of the trial courts in the Commonwealth. So when they're having problems and issues, and if I'm able to come and relay that information, and also I would like to come with solutions, talking to people. While out campaigning, I was discussing this very issue. And I don't know how much time we have,
Go ahead.
Jimmy, and
You
I'm an
good?
attorney.
You good? Go ahead.
Wait,
Go ahead.
and I'm an attorney, so I can talk and talk and talk.
We have as much
So
time as you can spare before you got to get back to the trail, because I have a couple of political wonks watching on Twitter and Instagram, and we know how important it is to be on those doors and shaking hands. So
yes,
in order
yes,
to say whatever it is you need to say to convey your passion and who you are, and why you want to, the changes you want to make, and then we'll wrap up and let me know when you get ready to formally ask for the people's vote.
okay, I sure will. Okay,
Take
so
your good time. You may proceed. I feel like a judge. What is it that they say? Not carry on. You may proceed.
you may
Right.
proceed, counselor.
Proceed, counselor.
So while out on the campaign trail, talking about this whole issue with the language accessibility, someone said, "Hey, Allison, how about if we could maybe partner with community colleges to come up with a program that would certify people to be language interpreters for the court?" And oh my goodness, it's things like that. That's something I would like to bring. Now I'm sharing it right here, with your audience. That's one way that could help not only someone in the community, but it would also help the court. And that would be a wonderful way of trying to harness that void, to harness good people who are in need of jobs. And court interpreters, I don't know what the pay is, but I'm sure it's decent enough because when you're working, when you're doing public service work, no, you're not going to break the bank. And trust me, I know that. But it would be one way of offering some type of a solution to this problem that we're having. And so I do come with ideas. I would love to see if we could expand. Having those opinions online is extremely helpful to attorneys and litigants, and I know. And I don't want to bore people with explaining other than they can now see what's working. How is this court and certain justices, how are they um, ruling on certain issues? How is mine different from this? That's what we do as attorneys.
Yep.
And so that could only further improve law, because this clerk's office gets about, I was told, 400 plus um, petitions into the single justice session every year. That's a lot.
That is a lot.
And if attorneys, are, a little more selective in how they use that session, that's fine too. But I would like to try to see if somehow an app could be developed to make it even more accessible and easier to navigate. But right now, it's an excellent program that just rolled out, and we'll have to see if it has any bugs or kinks.
It wasn't a board thing. I would say that it simply is expansion or enhancement of transparency of the court. I've had the opportunity to talk with folks like and I won't name names because we're in a political setting here, and so I don't want to get folks in trouble. But I've talked to some folks that 9 to 5 share some of the same desires for systems and structures that are equitable. That for whatever reason, how folks got into the system. Now that you're in here, let us help you to an extent for as long as you got to stay, if you're on probation or whatever. As long as you have this case and another continued one because you didn't have the right interpreter. Well, we want to expedite things for you and ensure that you're treated with humanity and justice and equity when you're a part of the system. And that's what I really interpret and hear from you. Attorney Cartwright, we want to get you back out on the campaign trail on doors. And so this is now your opportunity to speak to the audience and let them know what it is you want them to do on Tuesday between 7 a.m. and 8 p.m., y'all. We had our little glitch. I was asking folks to let me know, have they made plans to vote on Tuesday? And so, ma'am, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I am asking that all of your listeners go out and vote in the primary on Tuesday, September 3rd. Yes, it's the day after Labor Day, but your vote counts. That's your voice. That's you exercising your right and honoring our ancestors who went out, had dogs put on them, fire hoses, all kinds of weapons against them to prevent us from voting. Let's not let them down either. I'm asking for your vote on September 3rd, and I'm asking for it because I am the only qualified person in this race. And it matters. It matters to all of us. And I know there are times when our community has felt it was left out, let down. But you know what? I was listening to Michelle Obama the other night, and to be quite frank, right now, we don't have time for that nonsense. Let's get out, let's vote, let's show our power. They're expecting, and by they, I mean people who don't necessarily look like us and think they can walk to the front of the line. They're not expecting you to show up. And I'm asking you, show up and show out, because we matter. And your vote will matter on September 3rd. So make a plan. No matter how you have to get there, get there. Exercise your vote and vote for Allison Cartwright for clerk. Thank you.
Okay, Attorney Cartwright, we're going to let you go. The case has been made. I don't know what it is that a judge says when they're going until the next day, whatever, but session adjourned at this time until Tuesday at 7 a.m., where all of you need to get to your precincts and wards and precincts and vote for Allison Cartwright. Thank you so much for being with us today. Maggie, Anissa on my team, thank both of you for making sure this happened. Maggie, we worked it out and she know what that means. And so thank you so much, Attorney Cartwright. And is September your last, when successful in September? That's it. You don't have anything to do in November?
Oh
because
no,
there's no
I
Republican.
will be on the. Yeah. There'll be one name on that ballot in November, and that name
Okay.
should be Allison Cartwright. If people do, if you people vote for me, yes.
Okay.
And
And so
yeah,
hopefully, November 6th or November 7th, we can have you maybe come back and chat with us and talk a little bit about what it is that you will be implementing. And I presume it would be in January where you would take the post as well, correct?
yes,
Okay.
that
All
is
right.
correct. Thank you so much.
Attorney Cartwright, thank you. This was very good. It was a pleasure meeting you virtually here. Brother Vaughn Tooley is in the room and a few others. And so I've seen him out supporting you in the field as well. And so thank you so much for being with us today. And we shall talk soon.
Alrighty, have a great one.
Thank you. Folks, if you were not aware of who Attorney Cartwright was, you now should be. And we'll just leave that at that. We're going to go ahead and get ready to let you go. We're taking a break tomorrow morning. It is a holiday, and so I'm going to take the holiday. So we will not have Java with Jimmy tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. We will be back on Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. Tuesday. We're not switching to 10 a.m. until September 16th. Also, just want to let you all know that 1 week from today, it is a national holiday. It's your boy's 53rd birthday. On Thursday, September 5th, we are having a special call-in edition of Java with Jimmy, and some folks are going to call in and just share some birthday salutations. It's one of 2 times a year that I go ahead and put up the Cash App and all that stuff, birthday and anniversary. And so we're going to do that on Thursday, but we'll be with you Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of this week. The week after that, we'll be with you at 9. And then don't forget, not as bright and early, but bright, at 10 a.m. starting on September 16th. We are moving the opening time of the Java Cafe to 10 a.m. Thank all of you for coming in and spending, haven't done a Sunday Java in a long time. So thank all of you, those of you that are on Instagram, those of you that are on Twitter as well. Thank you all for coming in and being aware of Attorney Cartwright. Consider her strongly, voting for her on September 3rd. Don't forget, we had Stacey Borden on Friday as well, when she shared her journey. And if you really listen to both of them, they are as many do. Attorney Everett was on, and some others. They are going into these positions to bring their life experience and their work toward equity in systems and structures that haven't always been favorable towards us, wasn't designed to be favorable towards us. And so they're going in to change it. Similar to why we have a Black woman running for president. But I'm not going to get into that right now. I'm going to get off of here. And shout out to my brother Ian Loudminds is on as well. If you get a chance, brother, hop on Twitter and check out Attorney Cartwright. She bought those symbols right there. She bought the noise and presented and made her case. And so it was a pleasure to be able to say to her, counsel may proceed and adjourn the case for her. And we can truly cause there to be a victory for many of us on Tuesday from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Make your plan to vote. While we're talking about it now, make your plan to vote on November 5th. Also call some people from across the country and other states in which it may be a little purple and a red stronghold, and encourage Black and brown people, marginalized people, women that want rights to their body, encourage them to vote in other parts of the country as well. All right, that's it for me before I get too far off. For Milagro and others that are on, you technically get an hour. UCB members, you get an hour for being on today. So for Sharon Cornelius and my mother and others that didn't make it, y'all don't get that hour today. All right, we'll talk to you guys later. Have a great day, everybody. And we will see you on Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. I'm taking a holiday tomorrow. Thank you all and have a great day.